The most common mistakes people tend to make on a CV is underselling yourself. People find it really hard to talk about themselves.
If you can include an achievement section, then it can really make an instant and dramatic difference to the power of your CV, enabling you to distinguish yourself from other candidates. This is no time for false modesty. This is a time to show what you have achieved and to imply that you will be capable of producing similar results in the future.
Your achievements have to be on the first page of your CV. They have to, in my opinion, be in a separate section. Think about 4 to 5 of your best achievements that are going to be most relevant to the role that you're applying for.
Anyone who reads CVs regularly will tell you that only a relatively small number of CVs match information to the job. So when you're writing your achievements, don't focus on how interesting they are and what a strong candidate you are. Focus on the way that they match to the principal requirements of the job. It's quite easy. Just half an hour's research on the internet, looking at the job description really carefully, would enable you to work out the top 5 or 6 things on the employer's shopping list. Those are the things that you should be targeting in your covering letter and in the opening phase of your CV.
Too many people just list what they've been responsible for. That's not good enough. What employers need to know is how good you were at what you were responsible for, or what you are responsible for.
The type of achievements I would recommend people include: if you're someone who's a graduate, think about things like commendations, scholarships, leadership roles.
When you're writing down achievements, if you can, make them as tangible, as concrete as you possibly can. So if you can introduce numbers, talk about sales figures or the amount of money you saved or the profitability or the time you consumed on a particular project, that's great. If you can't, don't worry, because there are also achievements where you win people over and you turn the situation around, and they're worth recording as well.
Too many people produce a job description, responsible for this, responsible for that. We all know what an accountant does, we all know what a marketeer does. You need to focus on your achievements.
So rather than simply using adjectives, I am well organised, I'm a self-starter, I'm a great communicator, think about the evidence and go for the evidence every time.
With regards to those with more than 2 years experience, think of things like examples of where you've saved or made money for the company, initiatives you might have introduced that have either improved processes or again saved time or money for the company, commendations by peers or managers. Always good to include 1 or 2, don't go overboard with those.
And you have added value or saved costs or made a difference or increased customer satisfaction or communicated a difficult point.
Examples of where you've outperformed your peers or exceeded expectations of either clients or your managers. So really things that are going to make you stand out.
Numbers often speak more than words. Wherever possible, you should aim to qualify your statements. It's all very well to use qualifying adjectives like substantial or significant, but if you're making a claim, do try to back up that claim with specific figures and percentages.
And it's actually quite bizarre. I've written a lot of CVs for salespeople, and I'd say they're probably the worst at being able to actually sell themselves.
So if you're on £110,000 a quarter, great. What I'm really looking for in that CV is to see what you did against that. And if it was 90%, be honest and put 90%. But if it's over 110%, then put exactly the figure, because I think that also will be a poignant to the employer, so that they can see that you're passionate about what your achievements are and equally that you can work to a specific goal.
Basically, at the end of the day, the company wants to see what the business benefit of hiring you is going to be. That's what's important. And if you can show what you've achieved for somebody else, then they can see perhaps how you can achieve for their company.
When working with candidates on interview processes and also in preparing their CV for interview, I often ask them to bring a brag file with them, and that brag file will talk about some of the emails or letters of accreditation that they've had, or sometimes certificates that are awarding them for 110% of target. Some people get to go on overseas trips for winning that. So I would say bring as much as you possibly can to the interview, and where possible include those achievements in the CV, but maybe not attach all 7 of the certificates that you've had, but mention them certainly.